What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of the MLB Swing for the Fences show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking Thursday's 5-game slate. As usual, a little bit of a shorter slate on this Thursday. We do have enough games to get a show going, to break it all down for you guys, and hopefully pick some winners before it's all said and done. Joined today by Mr. Travis Mangone. Travis, how you doing on this Thursday afternoon?
Excited to be here. Excited to watch the Timberwolves lose tonight and close them out. That'll be nice to see, DC. But it's actually a good baseball slate for being only 5 games. Simply 5 games. It could be a brutal one, but there's some good pitchers. There's some good hitters. So should be a pretty fun slate. And Thursdays are always nice. It's pretty quiet, and then we get to the weekend, right, where we got everything going on. So expecting a pretty jam-packed weekend. I know there's a major going on, so that's big. There's $1 million up top, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, PGA Championship started today, and only have to endure, one more Wolves game here. I can't believe they're favored. I know it's back in Minnesota, but man, watching these, I know I've been zigzagging all over the place. But
did you bet the Nuggets, or did you bet the Wolves?
I haven't yet. If I do make a bet, it will be on the Nuggets. But I'll probably just pass and root on the Timberwolves and take my L and then move on. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I mean, I opened up like one of the sports books that I had never opened up. I opened up an account kind of like a month ago or something. And there's some bullshit in there, like you need to keep making your bets to get your cash back because I haven't made enough, and it's like a very slow drip, which is absurd. And I got one of those messages, and I was like, well, if I'm going to bet on something tonight, I'll bet on the Nuggets, so why not? So I got in there. I got a little bit in there just to make sure I can get some of my cash back over the next week or so. So there we go. I'm rooting on the Nuggets tonight for sure.
If I wasn't a Wolves fan, I would be betting on the Nuggets here, but you got to be rooting for one side or the other, right? I'm rooting for the Wolves as a fan, and then depending on how much you bet, it can kind of obviously swing that a little bit. So, like I said, I'll probably just pass and hope that my Wolves can pull it out and push it to a Game 7, which hard to imagine them winning that, but they did win 2 in Denver. So hey, you never know. Guess we'll find out. We'll find out tonight. If we got games at 8:30 Eastern time, so fairly early start time. Put old DC out of his misery, and then I'll go back and delete all my tweets. It'll be great. No.
Yeah, DC, I'm in a little bit of a tough spot as a Celtics fan because I there's never been a price to ever buy them. Like the prices are so bad, and so I have the Mavericks to win the title at 42-1, and I was like, the whole point was I thought they'd get to the Western Conference, and then I could either hedge it, or if they don't run into the Nuggets, because I think Gafford and Lively just can't handle Jokic, so that would be a disaster. But if they got there against any other team, I was going to ride the ticket out. But I saw myself with an opportunity to get the Nuggets at 4-1, and I was like, why not get the 4-1 now when it was 2-2 and take the risk? And so far the risk has looked good to me. But if the Nuggets play the Celtics, which is looking like that easily could be the case, I'm going to have to be rooting for my money more than my heart. So that's the unfortunate thing. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of in your position where, I had to bet one side and I wanted to root for the other. So I get it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the emotional hedge anyway, but
neither am I.
We'll see. I like to be rooting for one side, just kind of firmly, not, oh, well, if this happens, then I get some money.
There's nothing better than being all in on the one side. Like you were at the Chiefs this year, right? The Chiefs, it was probably the best month. That month or two was awesome in January, February.
Yeah. Win or lose, I do prefer to just be riding with one side. But that's enough basketball talk for today. We do got the 5 baseball games to talk about. I will note this slate does start 25 minutes earlier than it typically does. So 6:40 Eastern time lock, that New York Philly game, which is typically left off the main DraftKings and FanDuel slates. But they do include it seems like, on these Thursdays or sometimes Mondays when there's fewer games, which is the case tonight. So 6:40 Eastern time lock, just be aware of that. Shouldn't be any weather issues tonight. I think we're good to go on that front. And let's jump right into it. Not sure if we'll need the full hour today, but we'll go game by game and then do the fun stuff at the end, as we always do. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you haven't yet done so. And with that, let's jump into the first game of the night. New York, Philadelphia. The The Phillies sitting around minus 135, so modest favorites in this one. Taijuan Walker pitching for Philly. He's been solid since coming off the IL at the end of April. We do have a long history of Taijuan Walker, not the best pitcher. I think in general, a pitcher who you do want to target against. And then Jose Quintana will go for the New York Mets. He's very cheap on DraftKings, 5,100. Deservedly so, has not been good this year in general, and really wouldn't expect him to pitch too well against this Philly team who can certainly do some damage with the bats. Modest day weather-wise, 65, 70 degrees, winds blowing in at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, and an 8.5 total. So we'll throw it over to you first, man. What do you see in this one between the Mets and the Phillies?
Yeah, Mets and the Phillies is definitely not my favorite game on the slate. I'll say that. The nice thing is the wind is blowing in, right? 10 miles an hour, 65 degrees. That's pretty good there. It is a really good pitching slate, though. That's another big talking point for sure. And like, do I really want to go out and roster these two options, like between Quintana and I'm blanking on? What's his freaking name? I just had it. Taijuan Walker, who I'm not a big Taijuan Walker guy in general. I know he's like defied odds with like some of like the stats and numbers and the metrics and always finds a way to get it done. I'm just not going to buy on Taijuan Walker basically the rest of his career. So no Taijuan Walker for me. No Jose Quintana. I know the wind is blowing in, but I just can't do it. I think this pitching slate is just way too good with other options that I want to take a chance on.
I gotta jump in the Bean Air train. Really good pitching slate. That was the same reaction I had when you said this is an awesome pitching slate.
Why? We have Tyler Glass now. It's like a free square. We have
one good guy.
We have Javier. You don't like Javier? We have
Javier
Jones.
Sucks.
We have Justin Steele for 7-3. Like, I don't know. I mean, Javier against Oakland's a pretty good spot, I feel like. I like Javier. I think for 5 games, this pitching slate is good. Look at every other 5-game slate that you would have, and it's normally bad pitching slates.
Yeah. I think this is not that great of a pitching slate.
I mean, I disagree, guys. Look at every 5-game slate that you will play throughout the season, and they're all fucking terrible. They're terrible. It's just,
all right, Chad, you decide this for us. Put in chat, is this a good or bad pitching slate?
I disagree. Opinion? I like the pitching. I'm surprised people don't like the pitching.
We'll let the people decide for us and break the argument. Okay. But I got you off there. I had to do it. So did you have anything else to say about Phillies and Mets?
Yeah, I mean, again, I want, for a good pitching slate, I want the context that it's 5 games. I want to make sure, as someone who literally writes up after-hours playbooks for 5-game slates every single day, it's not a bad one. I mean, I'll keep track all year long, and we'll circle back, but it's definitely not that bad.
Okay, first of all, you're completely full of shit. You're not going to keep track all year long.
No, I will. Fuck you, DC. I will. I'll sit there and I'll send you DMs every single day, and you'll get sick of it. You'll get really
okay.
I'll send you a DM every day and be like, DC, what, you think this slate's better or that Glass now one that we played?
Yeah, I will not be responding to said DMs, but you go ahead and send those DMs back.
Can I respond to one last thing? Someone asked if my nail is painted. I busted it on a door, so it's just one nail. So I do not have my nails painted. I want that on record, but I have a black nail that's going to fall off now because of it. So there we go.
I thought you were pulling the Caleb Williams.
No,
not quite. All right.
But we should get back into the slate a little bit here for sure. But yeah, I think when you look at, this game, you can make a case for these guys as one-offs, like the Schwarbers, the Real Mutos, the Harpers. I don't know. I'm just not super excited about this game. This one seems like more of a fade to me. There's other games later on that I like a little bit more. I know it's only a 5-game slate and you can't just fade everything, but this is definitely one that I really want to kind of get off of and not be on a lot. So
yeah, this sums it up. Mangone's nail is better than the pitchers on this slate. So there you go. Bean Air has spoken. We're moving on.
Bean Air literally says the most ludicrous things all the time. So if you want to side with Bean Air, go ahead. He thinks Caitlin Clark is better than LeBron James. So,
and that's just a fact. I'm Team Bean Air. He knows what he's talking about today. All right, next game up, Tampa Bay and the Boston Red Sox. This one in Boston, essentially a straight pick 'em via the line. Total sitting at 8. We have 2 righties on the hill. Zach Littell going for Tampa. He's been solid this year. Kind of a low upside guy. He's probably not going to give you, more than 6 or 7 strikeouts, but he's been decent matchup. Obviously, we don't love going to Fenway, but it is good pitching weather today. So I do think Littell, 8,400. Listen, on this greatest pitching slate of all time, maybe Zach Littell is part of the reason why. I'd like to hear your thoughts on him. And then Cooper Criswell, who I do think is the best cheap pitcher. I don't know. I throw him in like the Griffin Canning from last night, where it's like you're not really excited about this guy, but someone's got to be the best cheap pitching options. And for me, for my money, it is Mr. Criswell. Been on him a little bit in these last 3 starts. I think he's better than people realize. 9 strikeouts last time out against Washington and just 79 pitches. It's probably not going to give you more than 80, 85 pitches. So you're kind of hoping for 5, maybe 6 innings if it's going really well. But I like picking on this Rays team, especially with the right-handed pitchers. So I'm willing to use Criswell here. It is, like I said, good pitching weather in Fenway. 6,800 for him on DraftKings feels pretty good. 7,200 on FanDuel. I do think he's at least usable over there. So I do like Criswell a little bit. I'm not on the Rays bats. Not really on Boston either. What about you, Mangum? We've got 2 aces on the hill, Cooper Criswell and Zach Littell. What do you think of Red Sox and Rays here?
Yeah, well, one fun factor with this slate too is we have some expensive bats that we're going to want later on. And because you want those expensive bats, like it's going to be hard to play Tyler Glass now. And then another top end arm that we have, and I know it's just like 9K Jared Jones, but you at least have to pick a path that feels like a little bit today where some of these punt pitchers, I mean, it's nice that we at least have them. If we didn't have these punt pitchers, it'd be very impossible to get the Glass now build along with some of these big bats. So it is nice to have some of these options here. That's why I'm not as worried about Cooper Criswell's pitch count and everything. I think against the Rays, he can easily get the job done for us at 6.8K. So I do think Cooper Criswell is someone that we should be considering here on this slate. I think he's better than the pitchers that we had in that, first game. And then Zach Littell, definitely not a bad option here either. I'm not that scared of the Boston Red Sox offense. You don't need a lot. Again, it's a 5-game slate. If you get double digits, you're always happy with double digits on 5-game slates for sure. Just because
on this slate, you're probably going to need 40 apiece for both of your pitching spots to compete.
Nah, you're on these shorter slates. That's why Glass now I think is just so important on this slate, and just anyone that fades him, I think is just wrong. But yeah, I think overall though, you got to like Liddell a little bit. The question is, if you play Liddell, you're probably playing it with Glass now. So when you do that build, and let's just plug it in, 3,900 for all of your spots. Are you able to get in all those offenses that you want to, right? The Astros is definitely one of them. I'm sure people are going to like. The Dodgers is another one. Are you able to get those big bats in? It's definitely going to be a little bit tougher for sure to get them in there. So that's definitely a big debate. My first team that I just found with Glass now and Little, it has an Oakland A's stack, right? I mean, it's hard to do. So yes, I like Little on this slate, but there's a lot more value plays that I want to get to and play that allow me to get in those big bats. So that's the reason why I probably just won't be as high on Liddell today, because a lot of my ownership is just going to be on Glass now.
Yeah, I'll take a shot on Criswell over Littell. He's cheaper, $1,600 difference there. And yeah, someone asking about Criswell ownership. Broccoli said 8% for Criswell. Sabres got him down at 4.5%. So yeah, I would say probably between 5 and 10% for Criswell. That feels pretty good, honestly, for this slate for that price. So I'm in on Criswell over Littell. Again, I do think Littell is in play, but I would prefer to take the savings on what I see as pretty close to a toss-up in terms of what I expect from a fantasy production standpoint. Let's get to Pittsburgh and the Chicago Cubs up next. Justin Steele pitching here for the Cubs. He was really, really good last year. Kind of little bit of, I thought, good fortune, good luck for Steele. He looked good in his first start. Since he's come back, though, he missed, a month and a half almost, month and a week. been pretty shaky. He's thrown 68 and 74 pitches in those two outings, was solid against the Padres, and then last start out against Pittsburgh, who he'll face again tonight, by the way. Pretty shaky, 600 runs in 4 innings, just 3 strikeouts to 2 walks, 74 pitches. So I would expect him to maybe push into the low 80s in terms of pitch count, which hopefully will be enough if you've got him to get him through 5 innings. But I think he's fine at 7,300. The matchup is pretty good for sure against Pittsburgh. No lineup there that I've seen yet. So yeah, Steele at 7,300 again, I think is fine. I do prefer Criswell. I do think it's close between the two, but slight lean for me on Criswell over Steele. It is pretty good hitting conditions in Wrigley Field, I should mention, 70 degrees, some winds blowing out, so that does play a little bit of a factor. And then the real talk of this game, Mr. Jared Jones, rookie for the Pirates. He's been just okay in 2 of the last 3 games, but still do really, really like this guy's talent. I think he brings enormous upside really anytime he takes the mound. And the matchup here is, I think, just okay against the Cubs. So I like Jared Jones tonight. I think it's fine to pair him up with Glasnow. I'm with you, though. Give me Glasnow easily over Jared Jones. I don't know if I'm going to end up paying up for both, but Jones would definitely be my SP2 just in terms of, raw expectation. Don't know if I'll get there with what I assume will be relatively high ownership now, maybe 25, 35% owned for Jared Jones. Where do you stand on Jared Jones and the rest of this game, Mango?
Yeah, so I'll just pull up now the Jared Jones and Tyler Glasnow teams, and they are a Pirate stack, a couple Rays stack, and a Met stack. I mean, it's just, if you play that combination, it's just, you definitely have to go down and get some rougher bats for sure on the slate. That's why I kind of like the idea of going for one SP1 and then grabbing one of these value pitchers. I do like Jared Jones, though. I will definitely have, the Glasnow and Jared Jones teams. I'll have exposure to it, but I don't think that is the best build. I think the better build is going up to Glasnow 1 and then kind of grabbing some of these values. And one of those values is Justin Steele. I know he just saw the Pirates. Listen, we talked about this on the show yesterday, DC. Let's take advantage of people thinking they know stuff. People literally have so crazy biases. And I do think the projections are pushing Justin Steele hard. So it's not going to keep his ownership down by any means, but who knows? Maybe that will kind of control some of his ownership down a little bit. But Justin Steele, I think, has the ability to be a good pitcher. We also have the Pirates lineup. It's Connor Joe, Reynolds, Cruz, and then it's Olivares in the 4-hole, Gonzalez, Yasmani Grandal, Jack Sawinski, Michael Taylor, and Williams. That's not a great Pirates lineup that we see here. I think Justin Steele is definitely a very good value. I know projections do agree with that, but I think we have to like Justin Steele a lot. He's definitely going to be one of the better values. For me, it's just a price discount. He won't be 7,300 all year long, and it's a 5-game slate. Do you think he's the highest owned pitcher on the slate, though? I think that's it's a good conversation to have. I think he's the best value. So I think Glasnow and Steele could be the most popular combination on the slate. Wouldn't you agree?
That's what it looks like to me. I think Glasnow will definitely be most popular. Sabres got him at 60%, Steele a clear second at 42%, and then kind of gets jumbled after that. But at that ownership percentage, I'm definitely making the pivot to Criswell. I think it's honestly close, just straight up between the two in terms of what I expect out of them fantasy-wise. Would expect about the same number of pitches. So, yeah, that's a pretty easy pivot for me if that ownership difference between Steele and Criswell is even close to true, which it probably will be. Even if Steele comes down a little bit and Criswell comes up to 10 or 12%, it's still going to be, at least 3 times as many people on Steele as Criswell, which maybe up to 4 or 5 times as many. So, yeah, I'm on the Criswell side of that. I get it with Justin Steele. I just, for one, the pitch count's a worry. Coming off injury is a worry, and he hasn't been super great in these last couple of outings. So I think there's enough there for me to pivot off of, the second highest owned pitcher on the slate. Sounds like you're more apt to maybe roll with some Justin Steele, though.
No, I like him. I didn't know how the ownership would be between Steele and Javier, right? It's still early, and I was curious, and they're both very cheap. And for me, I just want to play that construction. So maybe I will consider the Criswell thing a little bit more like you are, but because we talked about a lot of this yesterday with with pitchers not having such a huge wide range of outcomes, you don't always want to eat that chalk combination. And it definitely looks like it's going to be the chalkiest combination. So it's something I'm at least going to think a little bit about. I still think he's a good play. I still think he's too cheap for sure. Like, for instance, one thing you could do on this slate, it's probably not something I'm doing, but if you faded Tyler Glasnow, who's going to be 60 to 70% owned, well, we talked about this. That could bury the field if he doesn't put up a pretty good game, right? You can go with Jared Jones and a Justin Steele combination. You could do that. It's probably not something I'm going to do. I'd rather get a little bit more different.
I would way rather do Glasnow and Criswell for about the same combined ownership as Steele and Jones.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point for sure. And, talking about these different things with the pitchers, I like talking about this stuff. I think it's really intriguing for sure. And I think there's a lot of other pivots that we can take chances on down here. Like I said, I think Criswell is definitely one of them who we discussed. There's a couple other guys coming up here that we could talk about. But, I think overall, it's definitely a spot that we got to get exposure to some Steele. I don't want exposure to the Pirates. That's definitely a team that I do not want to play in. I don't see myself playing the Cubs against Jones, but DC, we should really talk about this. It's only a 5-game slate, and on 5-game slates, ownership can be really, ownership on some teams can just not be there. Like, for instance, no one's going to play Cincinnati against Tyler Glasnow, which is fine. But I do think with what we saw happen to Charlie Morton yesterday, can we consider the Cubs a little bit against Jared Jones? I'm trying to think it through because I like Jones. I wish Jones had more ownership to justify it more for the leverage because it's not there as much like it was on Morton. He will have some ownership, though, for sure. But do we think the Cubs are just one of those teams that's in the camp of it doesn't matter who they're playing against? The pitcher could be Tyler Glasnow. But if it is, we can play the Cubs no matter what. So can we do that against Jones today?
Yeah, I think you certainly can. Like I said, pretty good hitting weather in Wrigley. Jones hasn't been quite as dominant as we saw early on in the season. I think, he's still got awesome stuff, but I think he's a rookie pitcher. And I do think the league is kind of adjusting to him a little bit. Obviously, the Cubs did well against Morton last night. So, yeah, I don't think that's the craziest thing at all to go up against Jared Jones. We know is going to be pretty popular on the slate. So, I don't mind the Cubs. They got, plenty of –
it's the second time through, DC, right? Do you put value into that as well?
Not really, but I think nevertheless, the Cubs have they're favored in this game. They've got a team total over 4, which isn't bad for this slate. So, it makes a lot of sense to me. And honestly, even the Reds against Glasnow, if you really want to get contrarian, the dude, they could be running wild on Glasnow if they can get anybody on base. Stranger things have happened, of course. I do lean the Glasnow side of that one. But, Cubs against Jones makes sense. So do the Pirates against Steele, honestly. I don't know if I'd go for the full stack, but Connor, Joe, Reynolds, the top of the lineup for the Pirates looks like decent plays against a pitcher who we're pretty sure is going to be the second most popular pitcher on this slate. So don't sleep. On a 5-game slate, you really shouldn't sleep totally on any one offense. But especially these two against two of the most popular pitchers on the slate, makes sense to get a little leverage, get contrarian with Pirates and Cubs if you want to do that.
If you are going to do that Pirate setup, the Pirate stack, DC, one thing I think that would make a lot of sense is you kind of want, if you decide to do that, you really want the Justin Steele builds to obviously fail a bit. So I would maybe just play Jones with the Pirates, right? I'd play them all together because you just bury so much ownership there, and you'd bury that spending down for the pitcher route, and you do this double spend up and get those cheap Pirates in there. That's kind of how I would build my stack if I did that.
Yeah, makes total sense to me. Again, I think Connor, Joe, Brian Reynolds, the top two guys, are the top two options for the Pirates. Nick Gonzalez hitting 5th at second base would be my third favorite Pirate to play if you are going in that direction tonight. Let's get to the final 2 games on the slate. It is Oakland and Houston at 8:10 Eastern time, and then there is a 2-hour break before the Dodgers and Reds game. But let's talk about Houston and the Oakland A's first. Obviously, we've got the rookie Joey Estes making his second start of the year. He was good in his first one against Seattle, 5 strong innings, 5 strikeouts, no walks, 61 pitches, 22 DraftKings points to get the win there for the A's. I don't think he's really much of a great prospect. And the 5 strikeouts I would attribute largely to facing the strikeout happy Seattle Mariners in that first start. Wouldn't be expecting success from Joey Estes tonight. At least I'm not. And certainly the market isn't. The Astros do have by far the highest team total on the slate, sitting around 5.4 runs. Your man, Christian Javier, pitching for the Astros. Pretty shaky this year. I know the game log on DK looks pretty good for Javier for those first 4 games, but was getting pretty lucky. High for strikeouts on the year is 6, which used to be his calling card, and then missed almost a month. Comes back, faces one of the worst offenses in baseball in the Detroit Tigers. Gives up 7 earned runs over 1 1/3 innings, 4 walks, 0 strikeouts, just 50 pitches. Velocity was down. Fastball velocity was his lowest in a couple of years in that first start back. And I mean, if you just, I reference this page a lot, so anyone that's kind of following along, if you just Google, Javier baseball savant, it'll take you to his main page, and it gives you these nice kind of, 1 to 100 on the percentile scale of how Javier has performed on the year compared to other pitchers. And he is all blue, meaning he's in the, the bottom 30 percentile in pretty much every category, including strikeouts. He's 15th percentile. Walks, he's 10th. He's even given up barrels. He's getting the fewest ground balls of any pitcher in the league. And this Oakland team is putting up runs. So no Javier for me. Give me some of these Oakland A's bats. Can punish your man Javier, man. Go.
I don't think I don't know. I know I don't dig into the metrics like everyone else, but I'm fine with Javier. I mean, if you have to debate him and Steele, right? I think both gain ownership. I think that's a good conversation right there. Like, what do you think Javier's ownership is going to be, DC? Because, I mean, he's getting pushed a little bit projection-wise. Wouldn't you agree he's going to be like either – I think maybe he's the 4th highest owned pitcher on the slate. I assume it goes Glasnow, Steele, Jones, and then Javier. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think he's about 25.28% higher than he should be based on Sabres ownership of him.
Okay. I mean, are you playing 150 today, DC? Is the edge so large that you need to play 150 and stack up 150 Oakland A's stacks?
I wasn't planning on it, but if everyone's playing Christian Javier, might have to be interested in that.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone is, right? It's not 50%, but yeah. I don't think Javier's that bad. I think it's one of those spots, and we say this on every slate, that you play Javier and I think you can play Oakland. I think you can play either side. I think it's perfectly fine. Obviously, these Oakland bats, you look up and down this lineup. I said it yesterday. It's definitely gotten better. Toro, Blade, Rooker, Soderson, he is in the 2.5K at what's it called? At catcher. So that's kind of nice as like a punt option if you need that. You got McCann at 3-3. I don't know. This A's lineup is definitely not one that you can completely ignore when it comes to stacking if you need a cheap stack on the slate. And then, yes, the Astros can be frustrating. I know the Astros have not been the same, but I still think we got to take a chance on them. I know our guy Beanier in the chat, he thinks Estes is an ace apparently, so I'm sure he'll have all the Estes in the world. I'll have more Astros. I know they kind of let me down yesterday, but I'm not scared of Mr. Estes. I'm perfectly fine with attacking him with these Astros. And like I said, if you are going to play these Astros, try to get in all those big bats. They do have some value throughout the lineup with Loperfido, Jake Myers, Bregman. I know he's been swinging a hot bat. He cooled down a little bit yesterday, but I'll definitely go back to him. So overall, I do like these Astros here.
Yeah, bullpen note for the Astros. They only have the one lefty in the bullpen. Their closer, Josh Hader, who obviously wouldn't come into the game until the 8th inning at the very earliest, probably not till the 9th. And he also threw 30 pitches 2 days ago. So, he's throwing 1 inning at the very max, probably won't even pitch in this game. So the lefties for the A's, which can be pinch hit risks at times, that would be Blade, Soderstrom, Kyle McCann, and Seth Brown, all pretty damn safe from pinch hitting, from getting pinch hit at least early in this game. What happened maybe in their last at bat, but I do think those A's lefties are pretty good plays against Javier. I don't think many people are going to the A's here. They've got the second lowest team total on the slate, but I certainly will be. Seems like some people in chat will be joining me on some Oakland A's bats against Christian Javier, part of the greatest pitching slate of all time. Cincinnati and the Dodgers. I'm trying to get to 10 jokes, man, going before we get off the air. I think I'm at 7 right now, so I'll just keep plugging away.
To throw in there.
Dodgers and Cincinnati Reds. Last game on the slate, like I mentioned, this one does start 2 hours after Houston and Oakland. We'll have a break there to watch the Wolves lose. That'll be great. Cincinnati and the Dodgers. Big favorites here are the LA Dodgers, no surprise. Glasnow and company sitting around minus 350. Honestly, one of the bigger lines that we've seen all year. The Reds are going to do, looks like kind of a bullpen / Nick Martinez long relief day. Brent Suter going to, looks like, start this game for the Reds. He just only pitched 1 inning in each of his last 4 outings, and he did pitch back on the 13th and the 14th. And now the 16th. So I would really just expect the 1 inning from Suter. Should be Nick Martinez in the game after him. And then a bullpen day for the Reds, who have a pretty bad bullpen. So that doesn't seem like maybe the best possible plan for the Reds. Dodgers stack, we know what they can do. I think it's close between them and the Astros in terms of my number 1 stack. We know what the Dodgers can do. Don't need to talk too much more about guys like Mookie Betts and Ohtani and Freeman. I mean, just total crushers there at the top of the lineup. If you can afford them in your lineups, I think it would be wise to do so. And then Tyler Glasnow, who we do know will carry the ownership on this slate. He is the highest priced pitcher, of course, and deservedly so. This guy has been lights out all year long. Big upside. Even the floor has been nice. He had 1 rough game against the Nationals, but other than that, has been pretty much nails in every single start. Double-digit strikeout upside every time he takes the mound, and a strikeout-happy Reds team who hasn't really done much outside of Great American, and it's pretty cold right now in general. You got to love Glasnow here. I will say, I said it earlier, Reds do have potential at least to really get going on the base paths here. You would expect them to early on if they get a chance. So, yeah, if you want to play an Elly De La Cruz, I think this could be a steal second and third type of situation for him if he does get on base. But yeah, it is the Glasnow side that I'm leaning. What are your thoughts here, man? Going Dodgers and Reds?
Yeah, I do think you're onto some with the Elly stuff. I don't know if you could pull off playing Glasnow with Elly today as an idea on a 5-gamer, but shortstop is kind of brutal the more I look at it. So that's why
I think you could play Elly with Glasnow. Yeah.
Yeah, you could, but I mean, something I don't really do, but it's just something I've definitely looked at a little bit more. Again, with doing those after hours playbooks, I kind of sometimes look at stuff and I'm like, I think it makes some sense in certain spots, but depends how weak the position is for sure. Glasnow clearly the best pitcher on the slate, and like the Reds, they strike out so much. I mean, this is just a perfect spot for Glasnow. He's going to be on all my teams for sure. Do you think you just have to play him? I've said that on some slates and it hasn't worked out, but like this is one I don't know, man. It's tough to argue with. I guess the only way you could say it is if all these really good pitchers down low for values, DC, they absolutely crush you. You need to spend up build. Maybe that's how it gets there because it's such a good pitching slate, DC. But
the one thing I would say for sure on Glasnow is if you're not playing him, and I do lean with you, he's going to be on my main team, and I'm going to be at least at the field at what 60%-ish ownership on Glasnow. But on any teams that I'm not playing him, or any of you guys who just want to go a different direction, don't want to play the chalk pitcher, whatever it is, I would definitely play a red or 2 against him because he's going to get strikeouts, right? And so the way Glasnow fails is he gives up some real damage, and if he does, that means there's going to be guys on base, and if there's guys on base, it's the Reds. They're going to be stealing and running. It probably, I would expect if Glasnow is not on the winner, it means he's probably given up a home run, probably at least a couple steals. So yeah, if you are fading him, I would grab at least 1 red. You can just do 1 red if it's Elly De La Cruz, but maybe a Benson De La Cruz up top. because I do think the damage that Glasnow does give up could be pretty fantasy friendly. So I did want to make that point for anyone out there who might be fading Mr. Glasnow.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that point, I feel like Fallick's going to have 5 Reds in his core for sure tonight. That seems pretty logical. But yeah, I do think overall Glass has the best starting pitcher here on this slate. Philly just got to play him here at the price. And I do like the Dodgers here. I know it's a bullpen game. That's definitely something to mention. We don't love to attack bullpen games typically, but these are the Dodgers. They are a really good offense. They're pretty expensive. If you look at the price tags, we don't have the lineup yet, but Will Smith is 5'2". Who knows? We'll get Austin Barnes in there. Otani, 6'5". I mean, again, expensive tags on all these guys. Betts, Muncy, he's over 5K now. Even Pages. He's Andy Pages, or maybe I'm not saying that right. Maybe there's some kind of silent G or something. Pages. Okay, I thought so. I was like, there's no way this dude's name is actually Pages. It's Pages. So Mr. Pages, he's getting expensive too, right? He was like, 2.8. Now he's like 4.3. So if you want to play the 5-man Dodgers, it's not cheap now. So you do have to play cheap pitching to make it work. So just make sure to do that. And another thing I would consider on this slate, if you really want to get Glasnow in and you cannot get 5 Dodgers, I would consider 4-mans on this slate because maybe it's just too expensive to get Glasnow and then all those guys. Like I'll try and do it right here real quick just to plug in, but I'll put in Otani. I'll put in Glasnow. We'll plug in who else? Freddie Freeman. I assume he'll be in there too. He's super expensive. Mookie Betts and then Will Smith. So we plugged all 4 in. You're left with $3,100 for a pitcher, second base, third base, and 2 outfielders. And that's playing all the expensive Dodgers with Glasnow. So I would just consider that. And Bossbro saying, when have the Dodgers ever been cheap? Well, they have. I just said it. Mr. Pages was 2.9. We have Kike Hernandez. We normally have enough guys to make that work. Like right now, it's a lot more difficult, especially when you have Lux and Outman as your only 2 values at 3.1 and 3.2. It's just a lot more difficult to make the actual stack work. So I would actually consider 4-mans of the Dodgers with Glasnow today.
Yeah, makes sense to me. You can definitely play 4-mans. I mention it often, but the smaller the slate, the less you need to worry about stacking overall. Certainly, I do think that is true for this slate as well. All right, that's all 5 games. Let's do the fun stuff, then we'll get on out of here a little bit early, get to building those lineups with the early lock today. So we'll start with stacks. Let's go first, man. Go. Favorite stack, favorite contrarian stack.
What if I don't have a favorite stack because it's such a good pitching slate, DC? There's just no stack to like, obviously.
Still got to have
for me, it would be it'll be the Dodgers, I think. Dodgers are probably my number 1 offense. I think more people are going to go the Astros than the Dodgers, and I just think it's because of the pricing. If you look at the pricing of the Astros, they're a lot easier to get into your lineups than they are the Dodgers. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers as my number 1 stack.
They are my number 1 as well. Favorite contrarian stack, Dodgers, that is. Favorite contrarian stack for me, pretty easily the A's against Christian Javier. You didn't give us a contrarian stack, man, going. You got one for us.
Yeah, I'll go with the Cubs. I think the Cubs stack is super interesting today against Jones. Rookie pitcher can easily have a slip up going up against the Cubs 2nd time in a row. So we'll go with the Chicago Cubs. I'll take my chances with them.
All right, let's do most important pitcher next. Again, this is the pitcher you think you'll be most overweight on compared to the field. Pretty easy choice for me here. Mr. Cooper Criswell, going to be using him, I think, for the 3rd or 4th time in his last 4 or 5 outings. So I'm not don't think he's some ace or something, but I do think he's undervalued still via the market and on DraftKings at 6,800. Like the matchup, like the pitching conditions in Fenway. And it'll be Cooper Criswell, my most important pitcher tonight. What about you?
Yeah, it's probably going to be Steele. I know he's owned, but let's go with Javier. Screw that. Let's go with Javier. I'm definitely going to be overweight on him. I feel like Steele might be a little hard to be overweight on, but Javier I definitely will be. And it'll be nice to go head to head with you, DC. I hopefully can at you that the Timberwolves lost, and I can at you that Javier owned the A's. So let me go to battle with you today.
I don't even need the, I don't need the salary difference, 1K difference. I don't need the ownership. We'll do a little lunch bet. Straight up, your Javier, my Chriswell. I know you're going to accept the bet. So,
yeah, I'm in. I'll do a lunch bet for it. Why not?
there we go. I think you still owe me lunch. So,
I do owe you. Okay, if I still owe you, then yeah. You, to be fair, you've never came and collected. So I didn't. I
wanted to win 2 lunches, and then you can take me out to like Fogo de Chao for lunch or something. We can eat. You can eat steak there if I win a couple of them.
I've never been to Fogo de Chao, so it's definitely something. Hopefully I can do when I'm healthy. We're getting closer, DC. Hopefully.
Well, we'll go on a little date. It'll be great once Chriswell owns your man, Christian Javier. All right. Give us a home run call. I'll start out. I'll go to the Oakland A's and say that, hey, why not? Mr. Brent Rooker. I think he's like tied for second or third or something in home runs. Hitting third tonight for the A's. 4.5K against the fly ball machine, Javier. You're up, man. Go in your home run call for the day.
All right, home run call. Let's go. He hit a home run for me last time. It's definitely a very contrarian play. Go with Christopher Morel going against Mr. Jones. Go with Morel. I like his power hitting in the 4-hole, so we'll take my chances with him.
There we go. Christopher Morel going yard. And finally, your favorite overall hitter.
Yeah, that's easy. It's Ohtani. I'm jamming him in there today. I really just want to play the Dodgers. Like I said, I think the glass now build with 4 Dodgers is going to be unique, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So I'm going to take my chances with Mr. Ohtani.
Honestly, he would be my pick too, but I'll give a different one. I'll go with Abraham Toro up at the top of that A's lineup. I really do like that contrarian A's stack. We'll see if it works out tonight. That'll do it for this Thursday edition of the MLB Swing for the Fences on this short 5-game slate. Again, 25-minute early lock. Make sure you get your lineups in for that. And hopefully we'll see some RPS logos up at the top of the leaderboards. Thanks for watching. As always, we do appreciate it. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't yet done so. And the show will be back Friday Night Fireworks tomorrow with Stats and Boynton. Good luck to all of you for Mangone on the greatest pitching slate of all time. I'm Draft Cheat. We're out of here.